Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Bull. Speedball might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal!
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Wolves Fancast, part of the 90min Football Network. Joining me tonight is Jafo, Little Dan and Stu. We have got so much to talk about. Everybody, we've got drama, we've got controversy, have we got corruption at the heart of the FA Cup? Let's get right into it, boys. Of course, for those who have been living under a cloud for the last 24 hours, Wolves drew 2-2 against Liverpool, and it was not without its fair share of drama within it. But let's start on, I guess, a bit of a happier note, for want of a better term, in terms of the starting lineup, because I'm going to pull you back, guys, to what would have been 7 o'clock yesterday. And the tweets, the messages going in the Fancast group chat, they're going to pan us. It is what it is. All mine's thinking about the cup match against Forest, because the lineup was a changed one. It was a rotated one. I mean, Stu, first impressions when you saw our lineup, especially when you compare it to Liverpool's as well.
I'll just presume that you were going to throw up the group chat screenshots of me saying we'd lose 4-0, and then Dan trying to troll me on Twitter saying that I don't care and I'll be the first one to moan, which I thought we'd get panned. Looking at that and then looking at their lineup, I thought, well, fair enough. He's took the L, as the kids say, and with an eye for Wednesday, which is the main priority. I did not expect that performance to come from that lineup whatsoever. And I don't think I was the only one either.
I mean, what I guess was, Stan, for you, what was the standout in terms of, the Wolves starters in there? Was it, Lambesi? I keep mispronouncing this and it's killing me, and I've been trying all day, mate. Lambekisa. There we go.
Just think of Kiss at the end. Lambekisa.
Or just call him Big Dexter like I do.
Big Dex, yeah. All right, I'll go for that.
Big Dexter or Joe Hodge being in the midfield too with Neves last night was the big names for me. I think we all sort of guessed Sarkic was going to be given a go between the sticks instead of Jose Sarr, but I thought Wolves going with a midfield two, knowing that Liverpool always stick to a midfield three. I felt it was really brave of Lopetegui to start with Joe Hodge, but we'll talk about him later on because he was outstanding. But I thought Lembekisa at right back coming up against Cody Gakpo was going to be a massive battle, and Joe Hodge coming up against Fabinho, Thiago, and who was the other midfield? Jordan Henderson, was it? Yeah, I just thought those were the two standout. Johnny has been really just not great in recent months, and I thought he was going to come unstuck last night, but we'll talk about that for everyone. Those are the three big ones: Lembekisa, Johnny, and Joe Hodge for me.
Yeah, I mean, quickly on to sort of that Liverpool lineup, because it's pretty much as strong a Liverpool lineup as you can have. I mean, Gakpo starting Jafo, big World Cup for him. Mm-hmm. Gets his, pretty much starts straight away. No, there's no sort of settling in on the bench or anything for him. Again, when you saw that, did you have a sort of similar? This is going to be a long old evening for us.
Yeah, it's to see that Klopp's taking it as seriously as he is quite a turnaround from what he's done in recent years. And yeah, like you say, I was concerned that it probably would have been one where they're just going to have 80-90% of the ball for the whole game and just score 2 or 3, and that would be sayonara for the FA Cup this season. But as we seen, it didn't really pan out that way, and I think their form continues to falter and puts Mr. Klopp under a little bit of pressure, even more and more with every game that goes on.
Yeah, I think one thing, Liverpool were crap yesterday. Don't get me wrong, they weren't good. but I don't think that should really rule over how well Wolves did yesterday, apart from the first couple of minutes of the game when it felt like it was going to be a bit shaky. You know, Gakpo has that early chance, and we did have those nerves. But as soon as we got past that opening couple of stages, we looked like the Wolves of old, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it was a lot to do with Sarkic's inability to use his feet as well, which is very odd considering that was one of the plus points of his loan at Birmingham as well, where he was composed on the ball, and yet he looked terrified. He looked like he'd never kicked a ball in his life at times, and he was pinging it all over the place, slicing it, and you think, well, you're just inviting pressure when you got a keeper doing that. And once he seemed to calm down, everyone else seemed to calm down around him as well. It was really, really strange.
Yeah,
In hindsight, thinking about this, do you know how bad Sarkic was in those opening 10 minutes? He was so nervous. Was that a ploy by Lopetegui to make Liverpool feel like they could pen us in even further up the field, knowing that we could break through the press even better? Anything Lopetegui can do at the moment, I'm buying into it.
It wouldn't surprise me that he's kind of lulled them all into a false sense of security, because it felt like that throughout, and how Wolves pressed. I genuinely can't remember the last time I saw a Wolves team press to that degree, especially against a good opponent. We're so used to Wolves playing a bit that counter attack. I wouldn't quite say low block, but being that bit deeper, and it pays dividends because that's how the first goal comes about. And for me, there's so much we could get into. Don't get me wrong in terms of coverage of this match from mainstream media, but the ITV coverage, and don't get me wrong, it's a Howlett and Becker for Guedes' opening goal. But a couple of things to pull up for it for me is little Dan, Joe Hodge for it. Just does the work in the
Joe
first
Hodge
place.
made Thiago look like how we've been sort of talking about Moutinho at times. Joe Hodge made Thiago look like an old man last night. The way he hassled, someone else called him a terrier. Joe Hodge was one of the main sort of instigators on how well we pressed up high. I felt Matip and Konate were similar to Mings and Konsa last night. They wanted to be pretty on the ball. They thought they had more time on the ball because in the past, teams that have been reluctant to press Liverpool, and now teams have figured them out, then pressing them high, and they're all starting to make little mistakes. And that's why every time Liverpool got the ball defensively yesterday, they all started to sort of second doubt themselves. And that's why Wolves just built upon more confidence as the half grew on. It's similar to Villa last night. Is that we should have killed Liverpool off in the first half because it was there for the taking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, and what I was thinking in terms of the goal as well. So obviously, they'd already kind of gone through that initial point, and when it's so high up the pitch, obviously Raul goes down because it feels a gust of wind, and ball comes to Becker. I mean, I almost felt like of all the negative things I could focus on, it really probably shouldn't be Raul Jimenez. I mean, it's so low down on the list of things, isn't it, to talk about? But the fact that Guedes is there, like, can you remember last time?
If you pull the picture up again, Rich, you see how much time Alisson Becker's got on the ball. I'm not even. You look at that angle there. There's no right back on. And Matip is like diagonally in the same line as Matip. There's no pass for Becker on there. He's just had a brain like fart, and Guedes has capitalised. But moments before that, Matip had a bit of a brain fart in their box, which Guedes never got a good connection on, which that could have put us 1-0 up. Liverpool yesterday was so poor, but our game plan was just executed so well. Like I said, we should have killed them off in the first half.
You know what it was for me? It was arrogance. I think like you jokingly said earlier about full sense of security, I think that was a lot to do with it because they started just strolling around the pitch and like lackadaisical passes like this one. And you think, well, normally they do these kind of things and they get away with it time and time again because no one presses them that much.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, It doesn't matter. We're not going to get caught. And then eventually, when they did get caught, they didn't stop it. It was unbelievable.
Say, to claw it back to Dexter, it was very much a Doak surprise motherfucker, wasn't it? Just coming in and, but I say, for me, I genuinely can't remember. I know. I can't see us scoring that goal under Bruno Lage. I don't see the players getting high enough at the pitch. I don't see them.
No.
And it's 1 in 200, isn't it? But you have to do that legwork to get those silly chances. And I reckon, and again, perceptions of the game. And, I didn't go and watch it on ITV. The coverage of half time in particular was awful for Wolves, in my opinion. It was 20 minutes on Liverpool. But if Liverpool had scored that, and, we talked about Sarkic being nervy and stuff like that, they have said, oh, great press by Núñez. Great. And it's, give Wolves the credit because they've had to buy into this, and this isn't a Wolves team who are brimming with confidence. We're all kind of working it together, but even after the goal, it could have been really easy for Wolves to sit back. But Dan, as you say, we kept plugging away and we kept opening them up, and genuinely, I reckon we could have had at least one more before half time if we were, if we had our shooting boots on.
I just think, like I've already mentioned, how well the game plan was executed. You mentioned Lage a moment ago. Lopetegui has obviously instilled some massive level of bravery into this squad that they're confident that when one player goes in the press, 2 or 3 follow. And I think, like you just mentioned, Lage had lost that confidence from his playing staff. They didn't believe in his philosophy in the end. I think in the sort of first 6 months of his tenure, the results were there. So they sort of went along with it. But as soon as things started to fall apart, they just thought, fuck this. And that's why I think it was so impressive, considering the amount of time that Lopetegui's had in charge now, is they're following the philosophy. They're all brave. And he's making players that were bang average previously step up the game. I said on Twitter last night, Forest need to back Lopetegui this month. It's like January the 8th now, we've signed 1 player. They need to back this manager because he's special. You can see what he's already getting out of this team. Get him the players that we need. There's been talks about Mario Lemina, stumbling fee over the cost. Just get the deal done because we're so threadbare in the midfield. Give this manager what he needs to execute his game plan week in, week out. Otherwise, it's on Fosun.
Yeah, and it's like after 4 games, he's already, turned us around to being a competent football side. Imagine if you gave him 50 million. Yeah. Shocking.
Mm-hmm. Go on. I was going to say the Premier League documentary about the time in Marbella that came out yesterday morning as well. And you could see in there, like everything that Dan said, then that the players fully believe in him. Because you got people like Diego Costa talking about how much they have to run and how much they have to work, but they don't mind because they're doing it for the coach. You wouldn't have got that in the last year of under Lage, let alone the end of his tenure. So I think if that was in Marbella before the season even restarted, and we're now 4 or 5 games in, you think where we're going to be by February time with this squad of wasters that we all hated about 6 weeks ago?
Yeah. I mean, it does kind of give you that newfound optimism, doesn't it? And, performances, results aside, the performances are there, which is what you want to be seeing, and the fact we do look more of a threat. But obviously we did concede an equaliser, and the mind kind of boggles a bit because Nathan Collins was arguably man of the match.
Oh, he was.
But I don't quite know what he was doing for that goal. It was either going to be the greatest single pass in the world and hooking it out to the left wing, or it was kamikaze stuff. But, I guess you can't predict on Trent Alexander-Arnold raking a 50-yarder.
That's a world-class pass, isn't it? The cross is world-class from him. But I think a lot of it comes down to
Collins. When as soon as he did that ball, I think like Neves did a diagonal about a few minutes before, which was like an absolute classic Neves diagonal. Collins just got into a bit of nervous moment. But you just can't take it away from Trent Alexander. He's put the most beautiful ball. It wasn't even a great connection by Darwin Núñez, but the ball Trent just put it on a plane. Thought Sarkis has got his footwork a bit wrong, but it's just one of them goals. You've got to take your hat off and just appreciate Trent Alexander's ability to find the vision and the pass to execute it.
Yeah, it's always difficult when you shoot it, isn't
it? I was going to say, as D. Marsden puts in the comments as well, big thanks to everyone who's tuning in live on YouTube as well. Keep it up with your comments. We'll share as many as possible. You can argue, again, could Dexter do better? Because he kind of just trails off at the last minute. He keeps up to pace with him, then just loses him over that last 10 yards. But when a ball's that good, he's stuck between, he's going to get himself in no man's land, as it were. And, it happens. It was a shame because it came before half time. And then we were on the ropes about sort of 5 minutes before half time. But I say, you go into half time 1-1, considering the lineup and the performance absolutely blew it out of the water. And I was ready to see, what Big Emil Heskey has to say.
Big Emil Heskey, by the way.
I mean, I was going to say BIG capital letters. And yeah, it was all about Liverpool. Oh, but and about Darwin Núñez with his instinctual finishing. I was like, what about our boys? Any danger? But it's not like them to focus on the big clubs, is it? And then they had a cut. What I loved most about it, and we all talk about the football, because the second half there's like so much to talk about. We were like, Owen, quickly, what do you think Wolves could do second half? And then Mihes goes, give the ball to Adama Traore. And
brilliant. Insightful, that isn't it?
I was like, is that the best you can come up with?
That's the target man, isn't it? Just get the ball to my right winger and lump balls into the box. Maybe Emileski just neglected to remember that we got Jimenez up front, not a prime Emileski. Yeah, and I was like, Ait Nouri's playing as well. I tell you what, Ait Nouri is a left winger. I think that helps out Johnny. Just what you need to going forward. He's making Nice add, pounds upon pounds onto his price tag. So yeah, I went into the second half full of optimism. Don't know about you boys. And then fuck knows what was going on with their second goal. I know I'm going to go to Stu first because I know what Stu's going to say. But it's offside, right? Come on.
Yeah, it's offside. The point is, the rule was changed in the summer to stop this bollocks happening. And I even look at, because I started questioning myself. I thought, have I gone completely insane here? Have I misunderstood this? But I hadn't. And you look at the rule, and there's so many things there saying when it is not offside, like you can't be under control of the ball when it's in the air. It's a header that he has to jump for. So there's that point. It's so far away from him. Yeah, he's got time to adjust, but he's in no point is he in control of the ball, and the ball's played in an offside position. There's been so many goals already this season ruled out for this exact same thing. Apparently, there was one at Chelsea, Man City last week. I don't watch that game, so I don't know. But there was the example that I put on Twitter from Spain as well, from a slice clearance, and you think, well, the rule is there. They changed the rule in the summer to stop all this silliness happening. From, I think it was a Champions League game last season where someone slid in and then he was like 10 yards offside.
It was a Champions League final, wasn't it? Benzema scored against Liverpool, but Fabinho sort of cleared it, but they didn't. Yeah, they disallowed it. The Girona one you put on Twitter is just a complete shank, replicating Toti Gomez's header pretty much.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same.
If Toti Gomez is in control, that header does not go to Salah's feet. It's as simple as that. So that rule is like the caption said. The rules are the rules, but that rule is stupid. And David Ellery or whoever's come up with that rule needs a slap first, and then they need to revisit the rule book.
I mean, the rule is the point is the rule is there to make this goal offside. They have then interpreted that completely wrongly or ignored the rule change and gone on what happened last year. You think, oh yeah, but just because it's touched him, so it counts. No, that's not the rule anymore. It hasn't been the rule for 6 months. And I don't understand how people, I mean, I've talked about this before, about commentators who do not know what they're talking about. Jermaine Genius mainly. Eni Aluko is a special case altogether. Just forget all about her. But there's a lot of people who work in football who have not got a clue what they're talking about. And it's so frustrating because the normal people who watch this stuff, they then take it in, and then you try to explain to them they are wrong. And they went, oh, well, who are you? You're not an expert. You didn't play. Went, I can fucking read though, and it's on the IFAB website, it's on the FA website, Premier League website, however many other sources do you need to see? The rule is vague in itself. That's the problem. But everything in there that says it's not offside applies to this. At the same time, you can, if you really wanted to, which clearly they did, because we'll get onto that, there is a way that you can apply this to say it was not offside. But you're going around the roundabouts and you're ticking a load of different boxes there to get away with it. If this was the other way around, would it be allowed?
Not a chance, no.
Absolutely no.
No.
I mean, we're snowballing into the DEFCON area of this game, aren't we? And for me, it's like, if it's the other way round, if it's allowed, column inch after column inch after column inch is dedicated, isn't it? And what's Gomez supposed to do in that situation?
Yeah, exactly.
He's got to morph into flipping prime Maldini Brazy hybrid and just let it go over his head. It's stupid. The rule is utterly bonkers. But like Stu just said, and everyone else in the football community, apart from 90% of Liverpool fans, think is that the rule stupid. And it wouldn't. For the other way around, Liverpool, it would have been disallowed if that was flipping Kuna who scored. It would have been disallowed.
Yeah, and like offside, the very ethos behind it, isn't it? It's to prevent people gaining that advantage. Like, strip it back to its core essence. That's what it's for. And I know you just can't get dragged down with me. Oh well, he made a conscious attempt for the ball. Well, yeah. What's he supposed to do? Yeah. He doesn't know.
It's not going to work, is it? But I was going to say, I've got it up here. The clear on theifab.com. The following criteria should be used as appropriate as indicators that a player was in control of the ball and as a result deliberately played the ball. Okay, how many of these apply to this situation? The ball travelled from a distance and the player had a clear view of it. Yes. The ball was not moving quickly. Yes. The direction of the ball was not unexpected. Fine. The player had time to coordinate their body movement, i.e., it was not a case of instinctive stretching or jumping or a movement that achieved limited contact control. Literally there in black and white.
Yeah. They're told about these things. They're checked on and tested on these referees, and there'll be nothing come out from the PGMOL and all these groups, and there should be an apology at very least towards the club, because.
And I think it's telling that Mike Dean retired as a referee last summer, has never refereed under this law. So.
Yeah, but the VAR, the guys who are on VAR should at least, either be educated in the law in a proper way, or they should still be active referees. Yeah. You want people who are still, within the game, like you say. You want people who are up to date with the latest laws, the ones who are, up to date with what's going on in the game. Because at the end of the day, Mike Dean isn't involved, like you say, anymore, and his archaic ideas anyway were damaging the Premier League as much as it was when he was still in the game, and now he's outside and he's still causing all this damage.
And it takes 3 hours. Every year I read the book, the Premier League handbook. I read this every year on a beach in Whitby in July. Every year, 3 hours. That's all it takes to understand the rules of the game. That you know exactly what I'm going to ask you. Is that
Is it before or after the Dracula experience you read it?
No,
Do you go to the Banks's pub next door?
the Granby? No. We're talking about Whitby here, and it's on the proper beach as well, not Tate Hill Sands.
Oh yeah.
You can't be lying on that with a book. No. But the
Sorry,
point
do you print it out?
I used to print it out, but it's that.
Stu, I absolutely love you.
But you're talking. I mean, I've been doing this for like 10 odd years. I mean, you can't take a tablet to the beach unless you're some kind of lunatic. And I'm not going to download it onto a Kindle, am I? I mean, so you can either read it on your phone or print it out. I mean, this time and now I read it on my phone, obviously, because it's waterproof, so it doesn't matter. But in days of yonder, I have printed it out and stapled it in the corner.
Amazing. I could just do a show of this, to be honest. But we won't, because part of me did think when we conceded, right, they had that spell just for half time. They got the equaliser. They've come out second half, guns blazing Liverpool. They've gone ahead. They've sorted out what they need to. But again, something that we've had under Lopetegui, which we haven't had for a long, long time, is they didn't seem phased, did they? No. They just went, no, we'll go and get an equaliser. And, we'll talk about the subs, I guess, because they were the main catalyst for getting the actual equaliser. But even before that, you had Jimenez, who, I almost don't quite know where to start on him, but we had chances to really make an impact on it. And Nate Nori as well, driving through, embodying Helder Costa from all those years back. And yeah, we could have equalised. And it would have been deserved. Yeah,
fully deserved. And we've pussied around this for too long. Let's just get into him, because why is he still playing? It's obvious, Raul Jimenez. There's a reason he hasn't been picked. There's a reason he hasn't been picked, and he's not the same person anymore. He's not the same player. He's not the same person. He's selfish. He's snatching at things. He can't run. He can't pass. And he can't shoot. What is the point of him on the pitch anymore? That one where he had 4 options either side of him, didn't he? And he chose to have a golf swing at it with about 4 defenders in front of him, which inevitably got blocked. And it's almost at Traore levels of frustration there, where you just kind of expect him to do something ridiculous and wrong. And when you played him there, he was the weak link in the entire team for the whole time he was on the pitch. And you think, yeah, I know. I said in that tweet that went quite viral-ish about Costa last week, about how well he played, and in the first half at Villa. And I think, well, you look at that and contrast that to Jimenez's performance against Liverpool. It was night and day. The bloke is a chancer, and he's obviously not going to be here much longer. And fine, we wish him well, whatever he's done for us. But it's time to say goodbye now. And I would rather have Hwang up front on Wednesday if Costa's not fit than give him any more minutes whatsoever, because he's clearly not there anymore. It's a shame, obviously, but we're not a charity. It's time to fuck off.
Dean Marston says on the YouTube comments, yesterday's performance showed me 2 things regarding Jimenez. He looked arsed, which was against the most recent narrative. And number 2, he's just not the same player anymore through no fault of his own. I mean, Dan, what are your thoughts on Jimenez?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear, buddy.
Yeah. I just think it's like how Stu ended that conversation. Then it's unfortunate that we've got to this point now where we're all talking so negatively about him. But the big point Stu made is that we're not a charity; we're a multi-million-pound football company that's in a relegation battle. And I put the tweet out earlier saying that could theoretically be his last game for Wolves. He's somehow been linked to Barcelona in the last week, which is mind-boggling. Saying that Barcelona we signed flipping Campana from, is he? Either way, he's nowhere near the same player. He's not going to get back to half the player he was before, and like through no fault of his own. But Kunis signed now, and he's done more in the last 2 games than Jimenez done for the last 18 months. Diego Costa put in a great shift against Villa in the week, and I really wanted Raul to get on the score sheet last night and kickstart his season, but he's done. He's finished for Wolves, and probably the greatest striker that I've seen in a Wolves shirt in my lifetime. I never saw Steve Bull in his prime. He was like 90. When did he retire? 97, 98, something like that. 98, 99. 99. So, I mean, I was flipping 12 when he retired. So I never saw prime Bully in the Division 4, Division 3 seasons when he was bagging 50. Stephen Fletcher was a solid all-round striker. Kevin Dorr could run his socks off, run all the channels you could ever need him to. Sylvain Ebanks-Blake was lethal, but from an all-round striker that actually fulfilled in the goal-scoring charts, Jimenez is the best striker I've seen in a Wolves show in my lifetime. And to see him go from that to where he is now, it's massively unfortunate and disappointing. But he may still be our highest earning player. He's definitely in the top 5 of our current squad, and we can't afford to be carrying players like that anymore. And adios, Raul.
Yeah, I feel like we do just need to shake hands and move on at this point. And regarding, I get sort of looping back to Stu when and Dean says bang on, Dan. You're completely right. He runs through. I think he's got most of a forward line next to him. He has so many options. He just runs into a Liverpool defender immediately afterwards, gets subbed off, and it's like, yeah, that it just felt so defining. But turning its head, that triple substitution by Lopetegui, I think in the 62nd, 63rd minute, game changer for Wolves. Mm-hmm. It was like he did the reverse Uno card.
That was one of the big points at half-time, Rich. I think Gully mentioned it in the WhatsApp group. We went into half-time 1-1, and we were very unfortunate to go in level, and we still had our really strong players still to come off the bench.
Yeah.
Nunez, Kuna. Hwang was going to make an impact, hopefully. Whereas Liverpool, you looked at their bench, and there wasn't really anyone that made me think, they've left a big gun on there just to give them a bit more of an ace in the card if we were to go back in front. And I just felt like we were back in the ascendancy. Going beyond one was annoying because of how well we played up until that point. But we were still managing to beat their press a lot of the time. We were still creating chances. That 8 chance where he hit it straight at Alisson was unfortunate. I thought that might be our big chance had gone. But then we go 4-on-4. Lembakisa. I mean, I know Lembakisa is only a young kid, but if Jimenez hadn't played me in and I was Lembakisa at that moment, I would have absolutely bollocked him, because me and Gully both said when that moment happened, Raul, you selfish prick, because that was a massive opportunity. The kid had acres and on his right foot in a good area of the penalty area to put one away. Huge opportunity, and like you just said, Jimenez had to come off at that moment, and the rest is history.
Yeah, because what was it? 2-3 minutes later, we get the equalizer, and it's that Hwang. And for me, all right, we could talk about the 1-2, the interchange, the bosoming relationship he already has with Kuna. We could talk about how he, manages to sort of nick it in off a rebound off himself. But was that the first time we saw a great first touch from Hwang?
The first time since he was on loan.
It was like I said. It was like he morphed into Berbatov. He just trapped it from the sky like it was a fallen angel. I think we talk about. You talk about Lopetegui luring into a false insecurity. I think Liverpool backed off because fuck's this chance of doing? But he turns it on against Liverpool, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a history, hasn't he, of turning it on at Anfield. It was like exceptionally an out of body experience with that first touch of Hwang's viewing it, but just the pace and the quickness of the interchange and the passing between Hwang and Kuna was just something that we've been lacking for so long in the attacking front three. Podence has got it into these little quick passes and little turns and stuff, which don't always come off. But the pace that Kuna and Hwang ran at that back four Liverpool's, it was nice to see, and I said we need to see more of that this season.
Yeah, I think it's good. You've seen the two players who are essentially on the same wavelength now, like Hwang and Kuna. And I think because Kuna's got this sort of attitude that we've seen where he wants to run in behind, he wants to, create space and create chances. This attitude and application that it's going to get the best out of Hwang and somebody who's really works hard, tries hard on the pitch to try and create something. Although he might not have the best technical ability, if you've got 2 or 3 players there who are willing to run their socks off and put the effort levels that he puts in every game, you're gonna create these mistakes and create these chances. And I know you said earlier that there wasn't many under Large, but the one memory that I do have is the game against Arsenal when he robbed the defender and scored that one.
Gabriel.
Off Gabriel, yeah. And that's the sort of experience and application that we're looking from someone like Hwang. And him combining with Cunha is only going to, stand us in good stead to, hopefully stay in the league and go further in FA Cup, League Cup.
I made the comment on one of the episodes recently. Since the World Cup, Hwang's looked fit for once. There's a sharpness to his play. He doesn't seem to be carrying any sort of knocks that he had previously. And obviously, the preseason Marbella, he looked sharp. He looked quick. I think he set up a couple of goals during the 2 games. And getting on the score sheet last night. What I keep on going with, like, gore sheet or goal sheet. He got on the score sheet last night. And hopefully, his confidence will surely build on the back of this. And I think the strikers will be more confident when they're actually playing games there instead of being demoralised. Like, balls aren't going to be played through. There's going to be runners to their passes if they're on the ball. I think there's a belief within this squad now that's starting to build. And I'm buzzing for Forest on Wednesday. I honestly am, because I think there's a belief growing within the club again now, which we've lacked for the last 18 months.
Yeah.
You know what? But that goal as well, though, that the Prince of the Skies, that is Nathan Collins, that header that he won to totally redeem himself from the idiocy in the first half. And we ain't had anyone that dominant at the back for a long, long time. Maybe even Bennett wasn't as good as he is. And we've all kind of laughed and joked about Brexit Bennett, and we've missed him in that kind of part of his game. He's almost like as good as Bolly was in the Championship, aerially. He's superb.
Yeah. No, I can get on board with that. Just everything about the goal. You say, like, you made a great point, Dan. And Defoe, when you talk about, players looking to break the lines in the final third, and it's only going to bring out the best of other players like Neves. This was the first time I remember in ages where you got Neves constantly trying those big switches. It was something that we talked about, how much of that game he dropped when Jota left, that he just doesn't play those balls over the top anymore because the personating. It's like, no, it's taken Cunha. If that, we've already got players there, and now all of a sudden, I feel like I might be getting a bit ahead of myself. And you say we're already looking forward to Tuesday. I'm almost now back in my mindset is I can't imagine Wolves losing football matches. Do you know what I mean? It's a hope that kills you, but it's not. I think we're going to we're going to go undefeated. But I now have the mindset that it doesn't matter who we're against. It doesn't matter if we're against Forest, West Ham, Liverpool, or we're playing, Arsenal, Man City, whatever. We're going to give them a game, and that's such a nice feeling as a fan. Like I'm pumped for Wednesday now for Forest, because I know that no matter what lineup or whatever, that we're going to give it some. Now let's pivot on that positivity for what happened after the goal. Dan, I'm going to come to you. Do you want to talk about the Toti Gomez incident?
I mean, I think you're probably best putting either like the video or
I was
going to
say, shall I go for the video? Because for the life of me, I still can't work out why it was disallowed. I've watched it back. I've seen all the angles, even ones that VAR weren't having reference to. For those on YouTube, got a quick video from the other side of the pitch, which was the one where you can actually see Nunes from at Nuno Army on Twitter. But this has got to be one of the worst / incompetent decisions I've seen in a long, long time. Because it was
it's beyond moronic. I was obviously doing our Twitter feed in play last night, and even before I saw the one angle, I said no way is Mateus Nunes that deep when the second header goes that direction. I said watch it back. Trent's playing him on side. That was like before the second replay had even come out. The ITV coverage during that moment was just disgraceful. The fact it took so long to not get into an actual conclusion, and then you find out there was 17 official cameras in Anfield, and not one could pick up the flipping video. Yet you've got flipping Dazzling Dave in a flipping corporate box who's online in the bloody 6-yard box. He's got an unfiltered view of the cross coming in, and it's just I don't want to be that football fan that says the top six and protected football's corrupt. But on the basis of that last night, football's an absolute shit show, and that's the reason why so many football fans are being driven out of watching their professional sides and going to watch non-league clubs because it's proper football there. In the Premier League, it's just a joke. You look at that image on the screen there, which beIN Sports showed, their tech shows Nunes is a good sort of yard and a half, 2 yards onside there when the ball comes back from Wang. It's so sacrilegious to football. It hurts.
There's a lot of chances out there on Twitter and stuff that were, trying to wind people up. But I think it's quite genuinely scary that there are people out there who genuinely believe that decision was correct. And that kind of hurts me inside that people can't see that was a mistake and just hold their hands up and say, okay, the referee got it wrong. Because it doesn't take a genius to look at that and figure out, okay, they're fucked up.
So for me, I found it fascinating, and I think in like the last couple of weeks, I followed a couple of like referee. I was gonna say amateur referees. That sounds no, it's not even harsh. Fuck it. I might even name and shame him if I feel like it later. Saying, oh, how hard a job it is and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I get it, but you still make the mistake. And you mentioned earlier, Jafo, about the PGML and the lack of accountability. And that's it for me, that we're not going to get a definitive reason behind why, if the reasoning can't just be, oh, we couldn't see him. It's like, you're fucking kidding me. That is so worrying for the product that is English football.
That's what I said on Twitter, Rich. How can Liverpool, big fuck off super club, 6-time Champions League winners, everybody flipping all across the world knows who Liverpool is. How can they not have a legitimate camera in their stadium to conclude a VAR call? It's a joke.
Yeah. And this is where the conspiracy thing comes in, because if you watch Match of the Day, they have the actual image, the camera from that angle that clearly shows it. So if Match of the Day have access to this camera, why don't VAR? There's no answer to that. The whole excuse of we don't have an image is the biggest load of bollocks I've ever heard in my entire life of watching football. Because it's a lie. It's a blatant lie. Because if they didn't have the camera, they couldn't play Champions League games there.
Well, this is from the same organisation that during the first season of VAR, a referee left his position at VAR headquarters to go and use the toilet during a game. So they missed the decision. This is the same organisation. So I can't trust them to do anything right.
Yeah. So
I didn't want to jump on the flipping anti-Mike Dean wagon. I saw Adam Thompson put up that, Mike Dean's give like 4 injury time penalties against us, 2 against Cardiff, both penalties. Penalty away against Burnley, I think, was harsh. And I can't think Villa at home in the pandemic season. He's a bastard. Mike Dean's a bastard. He loves the limelight. Like you said earlier, Stu, he's retired and he's still getting headlines written about him. But the whole VAR software process, whatever you want to call it, if you can't guarantee you're going to get the decision right 100 out of 100 times, it's a flawed system. Until you can do that, you shouldn't be in a product of this value.
But that's the point. They can, and they have lied. They have openly lied to everyone because the camera's there. The BBC showed that image. They showed footage from. That's not just someone made it up. The BBC showed that footage from that camera that's in Anfield. So it's a tactical camera. Every camera is aligned to VAR. We all know this because that's how the lines, when you draw the lines for offside, they're calibrated in 3D space. There's a video on FIFA's with YouTube about how they do this. It's all lies and it's all bollocks.
But then you go back to the point about Mike Dean being like the guy who was in charge of VAR at Stockley Park. You look at Mike Dean, and I couldn't imagine him being on Canva doing all these like Photoshop edits that me and Rich have to do. So if he's being tasked of put software lines down for offside,
people do that for him anyway. They just there to say.
How have they got 17 cameras in Anfield, and there isn't one person at Stockley Park that can find one image to put one offside line down? When you see the amount of games that has happened in the last 2 years with VAR, where they haven't even used like solid 90-degree angle lines. They've just found an image and put a line down out for the best. How have they not done that last night? Because they couldn't find an image to keep Núñez offside. Yeah,
and they've lied, and this is the biggest problem. And I said on Twitter as well, when it came to me this morning, I thought, well, actually, hang on a minute. After we'd seen all the videos and the things, and the linesman is running away, the linesman's running towards the centre circle.
Yeah.
So he's not giving the goal. The ref, there's again, the video's out there, unless it's been deleted already. There's a video out there of the ref pointing to the linesman to say, put your flag up. Clearly, that's what he's saying to him. If that hadn't flagged, that goal would have been given, because on their reckoning, they couldn't have seen it, which we all know would have been a lie, because they would have found that image, they would have drawn the line across. There you go, straight away.
It's absolutely bonkers. You just mentioned it. The linesman literally turns away to go to the halfway line because he thinks it's a goal. The referee has told him to put his flag up. So what they've then said afterwards, saying they had to go with the on-field position, the on-field decision. The referee has made an offside call.
Yeah,
which shouldn't be making. It's
It doesn't.
The only plausible explanation is it's fucking bent and corrupt.
Yeah,
and this is coming from me, who defends referees quite a lot on here and gets a lot of shit for it. And the stickler for the rules and all this stuff. There is no world where this, yes, Jonathan Bloom, Mike Dean is a serpent, and we all know this. He killed chickens for a living. What kind of person does that?
He's lower than shark shit Mike Dean is.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And thing is, shark shit would probably be onside if it was Liverpool. But the point is,
he doesn't need the referee and the linesman don't need to, because won't get checked by VAR anyway.
Exactly. The only reason he would say put your flag up is if in the back of their heads there was something might be happening here. Because, like you said, Rich, everything's checked. There's no reason for any of it. There's no reason, no logical reason. There's no way anyone can say to me there is a reason for that referee to tell that linesman to put his flag up when every goal is checked. Not the whole it'll be checked, or it might be checked, it'll go to VAR. Every goal is checked, every offside is checked. It doesn't matter. There's no going to VAR. There's no reason for him to do that unless there's something untoward going on. And yet again, it's at Anfield, and it's against us. And you went into in the comments,
numerous
West
times
Ham,
in the last 24
Leeds,
hours.
Leicester, there's loads of different fans of different clubs all commenting the same thing: corruption at its finest, because everyone's sick of it. And there's a reason why they won't have it. Let us hear the microphone conversations. Why not? They do it in Australia, but they don't do it here.
That's my thing. Just a level of just simple accountability. And all right, I appreciate I watched it at home, so you'd have heard it quicker. But they do it in other sports. They do it in other nations within the same sport. And I don't. Even if it was the linesman who gave it, you know what? In the comments, Dean Marsden did remind me after the last show I did, where I decided I needed to have Twitter beef with Dean. for no real reason whatsoever. But he did remind me of one of my New Year's resolutions, which was to get him more Twitter, to be a bit more outrageous on Twitter. And he does say, name and shame, Rich, keep up that New Year's resolution. So you're right, I have found it. So it was the refereeforum.com who tweeted, as the ball was played back to the Wolves corner taker, the action was offside. Brilliant spot by VAR in real time and confirmed by VAR. Brilliant officiating. I did a bit of digging. Turns out he's from Liverpool. But
was that the guy I got into a Twitter spat with?
No,
I think it was a different
He's
one.
from
That was a
Liverpool as
different
well.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it was Ref Support UK that I
Yeah,
got into a spat with.
Yeah,
And honestly,
and
that was the most bizarre Twitter conversation I've ever seen.
it was just like a complete non sequitur. It was, because he was like, clearly something is wrong here. And he went, you weren't complaining about the Alisson mistake, though?
I know. What
What
is he on?
No,
I'm sorry to keep using this analogy, but there's so many people. There's a spice pandemic out there. People need to smoke and spice. We need to get these people in sheltered accommodation because they're ruining society. They're making bold statements. They're bringing society down to a class which is just it's ruining football, and we need to get these people.
But what I was going to I'm naming and shaming. Hey, look, I do understand that referees have a hard time and stuff like that. And if, you say, if it's all on the linesman, which we know it isn't, Stu, because I know another Twitter ref that he's retweeted went through this really long detail about he's got to see all these different players. He's got to watch 18 players and see at one time. But for him to have seen that, if it was the linesman who gave it, even if he'd just spoken to a ref whilst it was happening, going, I think 27's offside, just from looking at where those players are, he cannot be certain. He's given it. And, all right, if Núñez is off by a sliver, which he ain't, he has winged it. I'm sorry. He has just gone, I think so. And you can't do that with the current interpretation of VAR. And as far as I'm aware, refs don't get it penalised if there is a VAR check. So if it wasn't given, if it was given, and it gets pulled back for offside, the linesman's not going to, get fined a week's wages, is he?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's just either rely on the technology or fucking don't.
Play the video one more time, Rich, because I want to be pissed off again.
Okay.
If you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold's right foot as as Hwang heads the ball to Núñez, it's heading towards Alisson's back post. It's honestly, I thought that might have been the only instance where when Núñez puts the left foot cross across 6-yard box, Totti's offside at that moment. But then it gets cleared, then Hwang puts it back to him, and then Trout is well onside. It's just...
See, I thought maybe it's the Collins header. That Collins has headed it, and the linesman hasn't seen that it's flicked it on the way, But it just doesn't make sense, does it? Yeah.
I think what you said is bang on, to be honest, Rich. That if they've got a hard job, it's a difficult job. And they've got to look up for all these players. But if you are not 100% sure, then just don't give the decision because you've got this backing. The VAR is there for a reason.
Didn't give it there. The linesman didn't give the offside.
No.
But they were saying on ITV, the flag's gone up. So
it's lies because this is why I had another spat with flipping Mark Pugash last night because the coverage after the game, him and Jurgen Klopp had both sort of tried to convince the viewing public. We're pretty sure that they've got this right, but we haven't got confirmed imagery yet. You shouldn't be saying stuff like that if you're not 100%. That's why I thought. That's why I had to have a pop at Mark Pugash last night because the viewing public, it's the same with everything, whether it's flipping Brexit, politics, whatever. The people will hear one line and believe that without reading the rest of the article. There would have been people that after that game wouldn't have even looked for replays or imagery to verify whether it was offside.
Because the experts say so, yeah.
Yes, that's what it is.
I think my problem with it, When you were saying that about what did you think at first, I thought it might be one of them fucking weird ones where someone's like a millimeter behind the goalkeeper or something like that. I thought that it must have been something like that because it was too odd. But I ain't gonna now beef with the linesman because like the dude's doing his job. He thinks it's offside. He might be winging it. Yeah, fine. But the whole point is VAR's there to back you up just in case. If this was a game in the Championship or a non-Premier League ground, and he had to make the decision, and then there's no backup, I don't think he would have done it. If this was, like we've said, if this was reversed, there's no way that would be given offside. Not a chance. Not a chance at all. But honestly, the point is, this is the first time I can remember where the linesman hasn't been saved by a blatantly wrong decision from a nonsensical excuse that doesn't exist. If they were wrong, if they said, yeah, we thought it was offside, fine. But we fucked up. Fine. Wherever. Just apologise.
Over 24 hours now. And
yeah, just apologise. And we haven't got the images. Well, we've clearly shown everyone on Twitter, people in the stands, they haven't got them cameras, but they had the cameras. They have the cameras there. And that part of it is unforgivable for me. And I think from now on, anything that's not conclusive and anything that's even remotely dodgy is going to be piled on him with a ton of bricks. And
but that was one of the biggest selling points about VAR was unless something is clear and obvious, you can't.
It's been manipulated. It's been manipulated beyond any kind of realm of sanity. And the whole point of Howard Webb coming in now, and we have seen it since he's been in, to be fair, in the last few weeks, where it hasn't been anywhere near as bad as it was beforehand. It's been used properly. It's been used for actual clear and obvious mistakes, which is what obviously that doesn't count for offside anyway. But it's been used properly, and it's quite refreshing. And there's been no real beef with it, really. There's been the odd one that's a bit contentious, but no clear and obvious errors. Offside is not that. Offside is black and white. We've been told that over and over again. And now they're lying about something that we've got clear evidence that they're lying about.
Yeah.
And what is that for? All it's done now is jeopardise things going forward until next year when we have the automatic robot offside that we had in the World Cup, and then they can't mess it up, and then they can't twist the rules, and then they can't because everything's automated. So, and until that happens, they're going to be under scrutiny now and it's their own fault.
Yeah, it just shows the level of it's one of those incompetency at best. It's corrupt or whatever at worst, and it's for me it's the incompetency of it because. Say there's so many cameras, there's so many ways we can do it, but they won't ever change. They won't change because, and I was trying to work out what it was reminding me of, and when I mentioned about these different football refs Twitter sphere, there's like no black box thinking. So they all just, we need to back the referee. It doesn't matter. Oh, you can't be, you shouldn't bruise the referee. No refs, no game, whatever. It doesn't make, actually you need to understand, no, that didn't work. Why did it not work? And they won't. No one's gonna. The refs on the pitch aren't going to reflect on it properly. The VAR on, and neither of their governing body. And that is the worst thing about it. That they won't go. Actually, how can we prevent this happening in the future and make sure things are better for the fucking paying fan? Because that's what it's for. At the end of the day.
And this was the biggest game of the entire weekend from a kick-off point of view. From the kick-off time, involving Liverpool, this is the biggest game of the entire weekend from a broadcast point of view. Maybe Man City, Chelsea, but Chelsea were a joke. From a worldwide fan base, Liverpool, 8 o'clock kick-off here. What's that? 3 o'clock in America? Prime time.
Prime time, baby.
Australia, early morning. Everyone saw this game, and they've made a complete arse of themselves by lying, basically.
And I
understood.
He's right about accountability.
I understood pre-episode tonight we had to spend time talking about this because it's a big topic, which has ruined a great game of football for the neutral. I said this to Mark Pugash. It's ruined the game for the neutral. It's ruined an iconic moment for those 5,500 Wolves fans that have been robbed a win. It's robbed Totti Gomez of a moment he'll would probably never experience in his life, scoring the winner at Anfield.
It's like a back heel. Anfield.
You'd never see Christoph Berra or someone scoring a goal like that. It's just it's robbed so many people of an iconic FA Cup moment because of clowns at Stockley Park or corrupt claims at Stockley Park. It's one of the two. They're either inept or they're corrupt. I don't think it's one or it's both. It's one or the other. And if that's the case, then VAR's a flawed product that shouldn't be involved in the sport of football.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about Andy Robertson stamping on Adama's face and the penalty Mateus Cunha should have had from Ben Doak.
Joke.
I don't think that was a penalty. To be fair, I thought it was a robust shoulder barge. But
Do you think
all I was thinking of though when he came on as Doak, I was just thinking of GoldenEye, and I couldn't get it in my head.
He's a
But
big
Stu,
boy, isn't he?
it goes back to the same point again. If that's flipping Joe Hodge on Salah, that same robust challenge in front of the cop,
Yeah, of course.
it didn't even go to a review.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
they did.
what-
They just don't. They did. That's the thing. Everything went to a review. And you know what? There was another thing that pissed me off as well. They just reminded me of sensible people on Twitter. Again, even journalists said, "Oh, you can't be offside from a backwards pass." What the fuck are you talking about? That's literally been the rule of football for 30 years. That's never changed. We had this with Neto a couple of years ago. I think it was at Fulham when he came from an offside position from a backwards pass. And it was, you can't be offside from a backwards pass. Well, you can. It's very rare, but it's possible. And it comes down to, again, people not understanding the game. Just frustrations.
Frustrating. I mean, I was going to say, the Robertson Traore one, I don't know. Again, I think if that's the other way round, I don't think it is deliberate. I don't think he has necessarily meant to leave one in on him. I still think
It's dangerous play, though.
You at least have the check to make sure.
I don't think he's made enough effort to avoid getting the Adama with his boot.
There's other things he could have done to avoid it. And again, the penalty one, again, just check. It's not hard. And they say it kind of soured what was a fantastic Wolves performance. And, it wasn't even just a case of, it was smash and grab. You look at the stats and, right, ball possession otherwise, we held our own in that game. It sounds silly, but even things like offsides, that for me, it shows that we're pushing them. We're trying to stretch that play a bit more. I also think the Johnny yellow card was a bit of a joke considering some of the challenges that were going on, but that's either here nor there. And you say it shouldn't take away from some fantastic individual performances, as we discussed. Likes of Joe Hodge, breakthrough game for him, and I've been fairly critical of him, just because he's not quite at that standard compared to Mateus and Neves, which understandable. But he held his own in that midfield. Gomez in a back four, Collins as well. Dexter, who, again, I think he looks raw. And would I trust him in the league? Maybe not yet. But he's shown something. And always, and we've had a 20-minute rant about the state of the officials, and it shouldn't be like that. But we can't not talk about it. And it's so frustrating because, as Chris Rogers nicely says, Lopetegui outplayed Klopp.
Mm-hmm.
Across every area of the pitch, but the one positive is that we've got a pack back. Like we talked a load about how just we ain't had fire in the belly, and literally Lopetegui's got every team talk sorted between now and the end of the season now, hasn't he?
I think you look at Cunha's reaction video after the game as well. Now how chuffed he was with people singing his name to that song, but whatever. I think his enthusiasm has just rubbed off on everyone ever since he's been here. It's like a complete breath of fresh air with everyone.
Is it because he looks like an ITV2 presenter?
Yeah, he looks like he should be doing the spin-off to I'm a Celeb in November. Definitely.
Yeah.
But his enthusiasm, as well as Lopetegui's actual football knowledge and knowing how to do his job properly, I think it's just rubbed off on everyone. And now we've got this kind of victim mentality and everyone's against us. We're back. We're back, baby. It's wonderful.
We love it, don't we? We love it when the whole world's against us and everyone hates playing us and hates watching us. That's when we do our best. And I think you're right with that, Stu. And it's lovely to see it back and just that little bit of attitude change. Players like, I need a few people don't like Diego Costa for what he does on the pitch, but everything that he does behind the scenes and everything that Cunha's doing behind the scenes to make people happy. Lovely print there by Mikey Petlinger.
Legend he is.
Legend. Dan's best mate. It's nice. It's just nice, and it's just refreshing to see everyone so happy, happy and smiling again.
The grit and belief that Lopetegui's brought this squad in such a short space of time is impressive. And like, if this week upcoming, obviously we're going to be talking about Forest in a minute, I assume. Forest in the League Cup, and then is it West Ham next Saturday?
It is, yeah.
It's such a huge week for this club, but get 2 wins in them 2 games, and the belief that these players have got now and the fans have got will just go through the roof if we get 2 wins this week.
I was going to say, go on, Stu.
No, I was going to. It's the fact that he's done it with his squad, like we said earlier. I mean, I said that it wasn't so much just bringing a new manager in, it was we needed new people. And unless that happened, we'd go down. Yeah. And now, even though we do need 4 or 5, I'm kind of quite confident that this group of players would be fine, which is fucking mad to say after just a month when we were so down on them and they were so useless for so long. The vast majority of them as well, not just 1 or 2, that this squad's got more than enough to be mid-table already. And you think, well, I know he's not a miracle worker, but he's a very good man. And he's got, like we said about when he walked through the door at Compton, you could see he had that thing, he had that aura about him. People like standing to attention. It's like, oh yeah, this guy, there's something about him, and he makes you want to. It's hard to describe it. You're just saying like you verbally wanking him off here at this point, but he's like someone you want to perform for.
There was that one comment, wasn't there, Stu? There was that one comment, I think, it said the standards had slipped at Wolves under Lodge. And I think him and his coaching staff have brought in that again now. I think players are fitter, they're sharper. They're all sort of fighting to go the same direction, which is obviously slipped massively away when Lodge is in charge. And like I said, the belief's there now. And we've got to start getting victories now. So we've had 2 good performances this week, Villa and Liverpool, but we haven't won either of those games. So I think just get a couple of wins under the belt and then we're away.
Definitely. Right, let's take a quick minute to catch our breath and to talk about that Forest game and also about the 4th round of the FA Cup. We'll see you all in a second, guys. And breathe, everyone, because we're going to move on from Liverpool to talk about Wolves versus Liverpool. No, we have got the cup draw. There's not really a huge amount we can kind of say because we've got a replay against Liverpool first. But if we do, it's going to be against Brighton. Stu, as an avid away dayer, is it arguably a worse fixture for us at the moment?
I mean, I broke my own rule there because it was on during the in between games today, and it was on the telly. I thought, oh, okay, I'll watch it and brace myself for the inevitable disappointment. And there was only a handful of places, obviously, that I ain't been to, but there was things like Grimsby where I ain't been for like 20 odd years and stuff like that. I thought, oh, maybe just once, just this once, we can have a little bit of a treat. Brighton,
yeah,
it's miserable. It's far away. We always lose, and it's just not what you want, is it? It's just boring again. It's just a shit draw over and over again. It's like, what have we done in this life to deserve this nonsense? But I ain't going to think about that until, obviously, the Liverpool game, because it ain't one of them that you can even get up for. It's like, okay, we've got Brighton, fine. That's what's on the horizon. We'll deal with it when we come to it, because they're in ridiculously good form. They've got some... I mean, they're probably playing better now than when Potter was there, weirdly enough. But again, so are we. So by the time that game comes around, we could be on the back of like 3 wins and a draw or whatever. So you just don't know. It's too far away to think about, really. But it's not really awe-inspiring. And as long as it's not an early kickoff, 3, 5, 8, any of them, fine. It's just as long as it's not an early kickoff, because at least then we can go have a few beers beforehand. But That's
you'd
my
want an
wish.
8 p.m. kickoff against Brighton. That
Just
journey
have
back.
Yeah, just have a sleep. It don't matter. Saturday night, We're not.
True. It's going to be Sunday now, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
it's going to be
Sunday 12
8 p.m.
o'clock.
Monday night.
Oh,
Just-
man.
Can you imagine?
No one
That's
wants,
why
no
I
one
made the
wants this
comment
game.
on our. That's why I made the comment on our Twitter saying we should just make a big deal out of this Liverpool Wolves replay now. We should just do a massive boycott and some sort of demonstration, play the kids or something, because I don't want to get to flipping Brighton, and we had got a good record there. I was glad I was checking a minute ago. I'm just glad Huddersfield wasn't in that list, because Brighton or Huddersfield, there's just no point.
No. I've realised, looking at some of the other fixtures, one of my big weird joys about the FA Cup draw in the in the fourth round is where you've got a fixture which involves 4 teams potentially going for it, where it's got Bristol City or Swansea versus Chesterfield or West Brom. I do find that quite joyful. But in terms of, I guess, the cup replay, it's going to be on probably either Tuesday 17th or Wednesday 18th.
Yeah, it's been confirmed for the
Liverpool.
17th, 7:45.
That'll be good, and then it'll be the cup game, sort of about a week and a half later or something like that. So we'll see. But we have got another cup match to talk about, guys. Wolves are playing Nottingham Forest this week in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals. We're one game away from a semi-final in the Prestige Cup, as it were. I was going to say how we all feeling about it, but I kind of know we're all weirdly angry and positive.
We're cooking on gas.
Yeah. Right.
They had an absolute thumping by Blackpool yesterday. I know they had like sort of. I don't think any of their like main hitters actually played for Forest yesterday, but 4-1. It was 4-1, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
4-1 away to Blackpool. In regards to what side you put out, it's got to have some sort of morale hit within your club. But this season's massive. We could stay up this season, win the League Cup, and we're just in a completely different market for recruitment in the summer. There's a possibility of happiness coming here. But then knowing Wolves, it's going to be flipping lose to Forest, lose to West Ham, and we're on the flipping panic buttons again by Sunday.
I mean, to be fair, Dan, their lineup. I was going to say, admittedly, it had Wayne Hennessy in goal, which explains the goals. But it still had Nico Williams, is it Lewis O'Brien, who's highly rated, and Emmanuel Dennis. And Jack, they had more than enough to put aside at Blackpool. But Stu, what are your sort of thoughts on Forest at the moment? Because it kind of feels for me like anytime they win a game, it feels like they've won a cup match.
Yeah, it looks like they have to give absolutely everything to get any points at all. Whenever I've seen them, they still look a bit shit. And obviously that's not Steve Cooper's fault and the situation that they're in. They've done really well to get where they are at this point with what happened in the summer, but they still don't look anywhere near good enough, and anywhere near the level that we seemingly are back to performing at now. We should be wiping the floor with them. It shouldn't be a contest, but obviously it's Wolves, and they've got Gibbs White and Bolly, and normally you know exactly what's going to happen in this circumstance. And I can't believe there was people even talking about, what have we done to why do we let Bolly go? And he looks amazing for Forest. And, just grow up, man. Same as Cody at Everton, and then that happens in the space of a week. But yeah, I mean, as long as Lord Diego of Costa is fit and we've got a focal point, I think we'll have a chance. So I think that's my only issue really now, because what we've said about the Irish Jack Price coming into his own now against a team like Liverpool, then you've got the other midfielders around him. Yeah, we're still light in that department, but we've got options at last. If Aït-Nouri's not too seriously injured, we've got someone who looks, he looks like a brand new player from nowhere, the one that we signed in that game against Palace on his debut. And you think, okay, we've got pace on that side. Yeah, Adama's. Adamo's Adama, but he's still a pain in the arse, and we've still got pace out wide both sides if both of them play. If not, we've still got Hwang now getting his goal after a year. Geddes played through the middle, looked better. Then you've got Kuna as well. We've actually got options everywhere and good options, and a defence that looks solid as long as it doesn't make its mistakes against itself, which is our only problem at the minute. And then you look at Forest side and what any kind of Forest side that they can put out, and you think it shouldn't be a contest. It really shouldn't. And I know it's going to sound arrogant, and we're going to clip it out and put it on Forest Twitter, and I'll have a laugh at me again. But whatever, it shouldn't be a contest because the way we're playing now, we've got a bit of a rest now. They've got thumped, regardless of rotation. Their names in the mud, losing to fucking Blackpool. Same as a certain load of clowns down the road losing to Stevenage. I mean, it's just unacceptable. Our confidence is high. We go in there, two-legged semi-final awaits. They're not going to blow it, are they? They're not going to bottle it. The job will get done. I
think that the key thing that might go under the radar for Forest this week is that they've got Leicester at home on Saturday in the Premier League, local derby. Obviously, they still need more. They need points to get away from this relegation battle. It makes you think where Steve Cooper's priorities will lie this week for Forest, because, like we're looking at, we're one game away from a semi-final, but can either team really go all the way with Man City still being in the tournament? It's still a hard task. Do you get distracted knowing that you've got a big league game at the weekend? We've got West Ham at home. You look at the sides there: Man United versus Charlton, Southampton, Man City, Newcastle, Leicester. It's going to be a tough fixture. Whoever you play in that semi-final, do you focus on the weekend's Premier League game, knowing that points is obviously the bigger objective? But
you look at that, and then there's a high. Well, what if Man United beat Charlton, Man City beat Southampton, they draw each other? Then you've got a two-legged game against Newcastle or Leicester for the final. That's, you know what I mean? It's bang on there in that situation. So, it
opens up, and to be honest, my sort of thinking again, because obviously we had a bit of rotation yesterday in the Cup. Momentum builds momentum. We've got players who are looking fitter now. Let them play games. They've had a lot of our players have had a break, unlike other teams who are slightly higher up the table. Give them games. Give these extra players. Give Kuna these extra minutes. You know, if we beat Forest and we got 2 extra games, great. You know what? Yeah. So sort of in a way. So what if we lose? You know, we draw Man City, we lose 3-0 and 1-0, but Joe Hodge gets another 180 minutes. Dexter gets a bit of game. You know, just for me, the more games, the better. But it does bring into question what sort of lineup you go for. Do you keep somewhat consistent in terms of a cup team that we played against Liverpool? Do you have a bit more rotation? Maybe you bring in Moutinho for Neves and give him a night off? I don't know. I'm struggling to know which way to lean on the lineup. I don't know about you, gents.
I mean, I'd go as strong as possible. I think exactly what you were saying is results breeds confidence. I'd rather win 3 or 4-0 because we could easily do that against Forest. And I know we haven't scored many goals this season, but we could easily go there and score 3 the way that we're playing. Instead of putting a weakened side out, maybe like Dean Marsden was joking about 1-0 volley, 85th minute earlier in the comments. But I would much rather be going into a game against West Ham, which is crucial and critical to our season, off the back of a 3-0, 4-0 win against Forest, than even if he does change the team, his youngsters, that sort of negativity could start to creep back in, and you don't want it. You want to nip that straight in the bud straight away. So you want to go for it and put the strongest team he's got available to see that out and have that happiness and have that first big win against a team who are in, you know, even though it's the cup, they're in and around us in the league and around a team like that, other than say the Everton game, which is
genuinely would. Sorry, Jeff. I genuinely wouldn't be against the same side that started last night, but Kuna in for Jimenez.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
And you've got to think as well. It ain't like when We brought this up in the past, day with you play Saturday, Tuesday in the Championship all the time, all season long, and your players are accustomed to that. If we're winning, they're going to want to play. They're not going to be wanting to sit on the bench, are they? And the fact that with the 5 subs thing, you can take them off after an hour and give them half hour's rest.
Yeah.
I'd rather go strong, build up a lead, and then take players off and kind of hang on if you have to, than doing it the other way around and chase a game. So, yeah, I completely agree. Go as strong as you can. But that side yesterday was a lot stronger on the pitch than it was on paper, than what I expected, like I said earlier.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a really interesting one. Even if he just switches out Kilman, I was going to say Kilman for Collins. I can't see him playing Gomez and Kilman at the back personally together. But you never know. I definitely like the idea of just bringing in Kuna for Jimenez, because you don't deserve a start. And kind of just giving it another go, and still sets you up prime for Saturday to really make a difference against West Ham. I know, Jiffo, you've kind of given your prediction. Dan, what are you thinking score-wise? Do you think we're going to be celebrating in Hooters Wednesday night?
Oh, God. I hadn't even considered that. I think the tie gets won in extra time.
Oh.
I think 1-1, but I'm hoping that we can get the win in extra time.
Interesting. Stu, what about you?
Clean sheet, 2-0.
Interesting. I'm thinking too. I was going to say interesting because I'm thinking the same. I think this might be the game where we kind of, if I said had a complete professional performance, where like we just go for, we don't necessarily leave third gear. We keep it simple. We have a good game plan, good game management, and see it out. But yeah, let's say for once in my life, I feel positive about Wolves. I say once in my life, the first time in about 6 months. Couple of questions from Twitter Corner. Big thanks to everyone who's messaged. Only a few because we'll wrap it up quickly. This came about from the game, but from Stuart Jones. At what stage of relationship is it a good time to take your missus and then proceed to start trying to goad the opposition fans? One Liverpool fan last night had a nightmare. I had seen bits of this on Twitter that he kind of got into a spat, and then I think his missus started backing him up. I guess I'll water down the question for you yourselves. At what stage do you bring your significant other to the Wolves match?
Hopefully never. I think she came with me a couple of times, to be fair. I mean, one of them was Bournemouth away on a Tuesday night in the Championship when we lost 2-1. So, and she broke her glasses, and it was all a bit of a nightmare. So she was fully ingrained, and being a Villa fan as well, it was quite enjoyable. But yeah, that's the thing. I don't get why you'd want to do it, because if they've got no interest, they're not going to. It's rare that they're going to get interest. It's more likely they're going to be pissed off or annoyed, and they'll see the real you. So keep them at arm's length. That's your thing. That's their thing. Leave them.
Separation of church and state.
100%.
Dan, are you of the same view, or do you think actually your partner should enjoy your interest too?
No, it's never. I've done that relationship in the past, and I'd try and avoid it if I can in the future. It's not for me. It's football's my own time, and I'm a foul-mouthed yob when it comes to football. I'd hate for her to see that side of me.
I was gonna say it brings out the worst. It can either bring out the best or bring out the worst in you. The other one I really wanted to do was from Brendan McMahon. When have you guys been glad not to have been caught on camera? Stu? Caravan of Love?
No, because that was good though, man.
Yeah.
I've got no shame about Caravan of Love. If you go, that episode's still there. Go and find out how I lost my virginity when Proud got a hat-trick. It was wonderful.
for hat
I
trick.
suppose.
And
Yeah. Things got to be popped at some point, are they?
Out of all the wall
People
strikers in
pop-
history, out of all the wall strikers in history, what caliber of woman was that caravan princess?
She wore bad, you know. She, oh,
Cedric
Caravan.
Lascelles.
I mean, Caravan Princess. I mean,
When Frankowski was it?
no.
I was going to say, on a scale of Frankowski
No,
to
because
Jimenez, as it were.
Because my jigsaw did fit, so it's not Frankowski. I'll just try.
I started with, so I shouldn't complain.
Yeah, she was a steady 7. So yeah, I'd say someone like a
Keogh.
good Keogh. Yeah, she worked hard, but
No.
She had
no,
energy, blonde,
Yeah.
not the best face, but we got there. We got the 3 points on the end of the night.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, job was done. It was exactly pretty, but you don't regret it either. So, well, that's it. There's many times I wish I'm thankful I wasn't caught on camera, but can we? I've probably told them all anyway already.
It's just a question that, like, it's hard to answer without incriminating yourself.
I was going to say, how far do you go down the line of this? Because
I think there's probably in my car speeding a couple of times. That's going to be my sensible answer. But there's definitely moments that I'm glad there's no video footage of for sure.
I mean, there's me doing karaoke, I suppose, because that's embarrassing for everyone involved. I can't sing, and I don't pretend to be able to sing. And I know I was doing Andreas Johnson's "Glorious," and it was as bad as you imagine it to be. So, and thankfully, there was no footage of that because it was pre-phones with cameras. So, probably that if you can for a sensible answer.
Fair. Well, look, let's wrap it up there for today, guys. We'll be back after the Forest game to talk about the Carabao Cup match and also talk about the West Ham game in more detail. Big thank you to everyone who's tuned in live on YouTube and listen to this on podcast as well. Make sure you keep up to date with all things Wolves Fancast at Wolves Fancast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button. Don't just tap it. Oh no, smash it, and also click subscribe as well, please. And also shout out to 90 Min as well. Until next time, though, it's goodbye from Jeffo.
Good night.
It's goodbye from Little Dan.
Kuna.
Oh man, no.
Worst
You're
chance.
one of-
5,500 Wolves fans. If you're not joining in, you look stupid. We roll onto Forest up the fucking wafflers.
It's goodbye from Stu.
Diego. Goodbye.
Kuna.
It's goodbye. It's goodbye.
You know what?
From
Them two up front together. That'd be a dream.
Like
Kuna and Costa.
Ronaldo and Romario.
Just imagine the chaos that it'd bring.
To be fair, you've got one who's like quick and mobile, and
And one who's
borderline statue. Could work.
Yeah.
It could work. I am going to have that tequila song stuck in my head now.
I'm not doing it. They'll clip it as a party style. Stop it.
Kuna.
I'm going to be up at 4 in the morning and just be like, oh, damn it. I probably should say goodbye as well and let you all enjoy the rest of your podcast listening. It's goodbye for me. Fuck VAR. Good night.